Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and just like any other time, we have another amazing show lined up for y'all. Man, I just want to say happy Monday because I know y'all, some of y'all have the happy Monday, some of y'all have the happy Monday blues, but hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll be inspired. We have a special guest joining us. He is a speaker, a author, and also a veteran. His name is Juan Espinoza. He has a website you can go to, juanespinoza.me. In today's topic, we'll be not just learn about his story, but also discussing turning pain into purpose. So without further ado, Juan, I just want to say thank you for your time, man. How you doing today?
Thank you for so much letting me be here. And it's a fantastic opportunity. I'm doing good, especially Monday. I was telling you before we air that I flew in from Nashville last night, so I'm ready to go.
So, man, just to kind of jump into today's topic, turning pain into purpose. You have a lot of points in your own story, both professionally and personally. Kind of take us back though, because in your bio you talk a lot about your childhood challenges. Kind of share with us what it was like growing up. And obviously you did serve, and I want to say thank you for your service. Kind of lead us to what drew you to making that decision.
So I think the big thing for me, it was my childhood it's a very modest childhood. So I can't really say it was bad at all because it wasn't, right? We had enough to get us by, but the thing for me is I've always been that rebellious type. And I'm probably a lot of things I've done was because of my rebellious type, especially as a kid, right? So when you're growing up, we didn't have a lot, but we may do what we had. I think that's important. I reflect now on my childhood. I learned the power of resilience through my dad, right? My dad's always working, quitting was never an option for him. Right. And then also when I look at my mom, I grew up, my stepmom raised me. My biological mom left when I was about 3. So I didn't have like that biological mom, but my stepmom she showed me what it meant to be a parent, right? She showed that empathy. She showed up for even kids that weren't her own, but she treated them as her own. I think it's part of compassion that I learned and patience too. So when I was growing up, being that rebellious type in high school, I didn't take my grades too seriously. So, we didn't have enough money to send me to college. So I had to pick one. Military or a 9-to-5 job working like Target or something, which I'm not saying Target's wrong, but for me, I didn't want to do that. I wanted something bigger. I want something greater. I think that's where I went to join the military. I was the first person in my family to join the military. So I got a lot of backlash from that, right? Especially 2009, 2010 era, Afghanistan, the war was really, really bad at the time. So they didn't want me to go because, okay, well, he's going to die. And that was a very high probability. So I think that's where I transitioned to the military, just finding a better purpose or a greater purpose than myself.
When you look at how military does build you to be not just strong mentally, physically, but also it gives you a lot of value and leadership role. What's some of the things that you believe rubbed off on you in a good way that to this day you probably see as a strong foundation?
Definitely resilience. I learned it from my dad, but it ingrained in me in the military. So when I got to my unit in 2000, so I joined 2009, day after I graduated, or a day after I turned 18, I joined. Went to the military about 2 months later. I got to my unit probably about 3 months later. 4 months after that, I deployed to Afghanistan. As being a baby, right? I'm 18, just young kid, don't know any better. The military and those deployment really ingrained the power of resilience and the power of not giving up. And I use that now, with my family, with relationships. I don't see quitting as an option. I think that's more you have to commit with everything. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do now. It's when it starts to get hard, they start to back off. Like, no, it's too much for me. You have more in you than you have in you. You just gotta see. You just gotta push through that. to see the actual lessons it's trying to teach you, but also shows you your true power at the end of the day.
A lot of people they struggle with that whole finding purpose and hardship. When you look at kind of in the highlight reel of your life, uh, what do you believe helped you navigate those pain points of personal loss and also challenges that comes all of our ways, right? But for you personally, how did you find yourself navigating through that and learning from those experiences?
I think a big thing for me was looking about all the hardships and the trauma that I've been through. A lot of the times you can use it as to, make or break you. And through all the hardships I had, I would never take any of those back because it made me the person who I am. The only thing I've done was change my perspective on it. That's how I wrote my book. So I changed my perspective on everything entirely. And we all deal with some type of pain, trying to find our purpose. But if you look at through the good and the bad that you've been through in your life and ask yourself, like, what is it teaching me? A big saying I use is pain is a teacher. What is it teaching you? If you change your perspective, you can learn so much on the value of just anything you've been through in your life, the good and the bad, if you just change your perspective. And that's what I did.
Once again, you're listening to Refocused Radio and watching us online. We're talking to our guest today, Juan Espinoza. Go to his website, juanespinoza.me. Talking about today's topic, turning pain to purpose. And my next question for you is, when you discovered that there is a turning point in that decision that, okay, this is the reality right now, but this is not where I'm staying. What was that turning point for you? I'm sure there's probably many turning points, right? Because as we're going in life, there's many challenges. But is there a particular one that you see sticks out clear for you that really helped you to launch into just being a better version of yourself?
It was definitely how I wrote my book. So for context, how I wrote my book, it's, as a military veteran and male, it's even just a very hardworking person. We always bury everything we have. Any hardship, we bury it. Eventually we think that if we bury it, it goes away. It doesn't exist, right? Either be relationships or family issues or work issues, it doesn't matter. Any type of pain, we bury those things. So last year around December timeframe, so a few months prior to what we're shooting now, I was working out, just trying to release it, right? I was in pain, like mentally, like I just wanted to go away. So I worked out, and at that point, it was raining. It was a very dark night outside where I'm at. And we have this like metal awning in my backyard. So when that rain hits that metal, it makes that tink tink noise, that raindrop noise. And just something just told me just walk out in the rain. So I walked out and I just fell to my knees and just screamed, "Tell me my purpose." At that point, I felt like life was just kicking me on the ground. I just couldn't get up. But in that moment, I felt like a fire I've never felt before. I stood up and I just like screamed at life. After everything I've been through, after everything I've lost, you can't break me. And then in the distance, lightning went off, like way in the distance. It sounds majestic, but that's what happened. So I went inside, dried off. I grabbed the bottle of whiskey and I wrote my book in 2 days. And that was the turning point. Was we tend to blame ourselves, or why me? We have this why me mentality sometimes. And I just changed my perspective on everything. Let me look at it from a different perspective. Let me take myself out of the equation, look at everything as a whole. And from that, I learned so much. I felt like it was 100 therapy sessions in 2 days. I was bawling my eyes out, like insane. But when I did that, I took myself out of my own shoes. I learned so much from the pain that I was going through. It wasn't breaking me, it was making me. That's what shifted.
That's a perfect segue into going deep into the topic, turning pain to purpose, because when you see that when life gets serious, uh, the good old days of just kind of like winging it and like just kind of going through the routine, it kind of stops. It's almost like an emergency. Like if I don't stop and pay attention to the window of opportunity I have, because that's what it really is. It's a window of opportunity to what do I need to address in order for me to grow or for me to get better. As you started writing that book, uh, what was the process like going down memory lane and understanding from maybe a different perspective that those experiences were actually building not just you, but your character as well?
Painful, very painful. I think that's a big part of self-reflection is realizing that we might think we did everything right, but we sometimes didn't. And what I did, it's a big important thing that I think a lot of people should do is one, write down everything because you see it now, you can prove it. You'd be like, okay, this is an actual problem. But I think a big part is a lot of people, when they address an issue, it could be a pain, it could be a growth, anything. They look at the good and the bad. The good they did, the bad they did, right? I think that's 50% of the problem. The big 50, which I've never done, was address the other 50, in my opinion. It's what I didn't do.
Wow.
That's what changed it for me. I've always saw it as, oh, I did this good, I did this bad. Boom. Okay, moved on, right? I reflected. But it never really affected me or taught me anything. It just showed me what not to do, what to do. But that when I actually looked at what I didn't do, that's what shifted everything. For my marriage, my divorce, my relationships, even my military background. I did good and bad, but there's a lot of things I didn't do. And it wasn't necessarily out of ill intentions. A lot of it was just, I didn't know. Right. We put ourselves in a situation where, why am I with this person? They're very bad for me. Or why am I working for here? It sucks here. But if you look at the fact that you're there because you didn't know any better, you won't beat yourself up so much, right? You can't stop anything you didn't know how. And that was a big part of me, just getting over that, was learning like, I was wrong, or I didn't know any better, but I'll take responsibility for that, but not all of it. And that self-reflection is what changed it for me.
People on the show always talk about what you're saying, and that is in a nutshell, self-awareness. Like, where are you? Where am I on the map? And I want to add to what you're saying. A lot of times we need outsiders to bring to our attention that, hey, you might think you're doing great, or you might think you're killing it, but if you can be real and you humble yourself a little bit, here's some areas where you're kind of like way off the map. Did you have people that kind of helped you with that, like outsiders, another set of eyes to kind of have a real talk with you, or just feedback to kind of help you also level up?
I didn't. I've always had my sisters. My sister, my brother-in-law, people I've been with. They've been very honest. But a lot of the times I was just maybe naive, I guess you would say, and I just like, okay, I'm good, and I didn't want to humble myself. And it's interesting. And interesting you mentioned that, because my sister, after I wrote my book, my sister read it and they cried. But they also asked, "Did you have like a life coach? Like, how did you do this? Like, did you go to therapy?" I went to therapy for one session, didn't like it. But I was like, no, I didn't. I just self-reflected and took myself out of the equation. That's also very humbling, right? We all tend to be like, I'm the best man, or the best husband, or the best wife, or best spouse. And when you take yourself out of that equation, you're like, yeah, I wasn't that great. I admit that. That's painful and it hurts, but the best truth is the honest truth, and you have to be honest with yourself.
Once again, you're listening to Refocused Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest today, Juan Espinoza. Go to his website, juanespinoza.me, talking about today's topic, turning pain to purpose. I think that is crucial, that people understand that in order for you to actually grow, right, in order for you to start from level amateur to level master of whatever you're good at, it takes a lot of honesty. And if you try to fluff your way around, it's going to work for like a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months. But long term, you will still remain that amateur person because you would never have matured. And I think that is something that we don't always aim to strive to be, right? But it's a reality point if we're not careful of like what you're saying, your story, self-reflection. Because if you think you know everything, that's a sign of weakness. Sometimes the best sign of strength is when you realize that you fallen short, and now what's next?
Exactly. I think the big thing is just think of it like a new relationship, right? It's always honeymoon phase in the beginning. That person you're with, they're telling you the best thing in the world. And you're like, I love this person. It's great. And eventually their true personality comes out and they're like, well, this person wasn't really that great to begin with. Right. And I think that's a big thing for what we all do is we want to be this amazing person. But sometimes in order to be that amazing person, you got to do amazing shit, so to speak. And that's being honest with yourself. Like you can be better. How? Write it down and reflect on it. That's how you be better.
You also are a speaker, motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. When you see how doors open up for you, right? As you are doing this book and releasing the book, what do you believe triggers those opportunities? Because a lot of times you hear people say the best performance on stage is met by the preparation work behind the scenes. For you, what do you believe has been able to open up these doors for you as you've been able to not just self-reflect, but show the world what you've learned?
Authenticity, the raw authenticity. I think that's a big part of when I talk to people. It's for me, it's just I'm showing you my vulnerabilities. Like I'm not perfect. This is what I've been through. Let's talk about yours. Yeah. And people resonate with that. People see that and they're like, oh, they gravitate towards that because you're being real. Like, yeah, we can, have an Instagram life or that Facebook life where it's like, oh, he's flying the jets going to Dubai, but they're not showing the hard work to get there. For me, I wrote the good and the bad, and people, they love that. People just want people that are real. Like, just be raw. Like, not every day is an easy day, but you're still pushing through it and you're still making it happen. That's what people like, and that's what people love. And that's how you grow and make an impact, is by doing that. Like show the bad.
A lot of people have an anchor or a North Star, if you will. For you, both personally and professionally, what has been your anchor? Some people find it in their faith. Some people find their family. Some people find it in a combination of things. For you, what's the main thing that you believe keeps you pressing forward?
My daughter, definitely my daughter. She's been through, a lot with me. She hasn't seen a lot. Even the fact that, I wrote a book and she hasn't read it. She's younger, in middle school. I don't think she's out of age to be aware of that, but she's always known I've been there. I've been very persistent, and she sees me sometimes when I'm working late. She'll be like, Dad, don't stay up too late. And I was like, I'll try not to. She grounds me, but I do it for her and to impact generations beyond me. We have the power to break cycles. We just got to put the work in and put the effort in to break that cycle. And me sharing my vulnerabilities, being, a male veteran, combat experience and whatnot. If he's showing like, oh yeah, life's not easy, I'm talking about it. it allows other people to give them that platform to also talk about it. And I think that's how we move forward, is by talking about our vulnerabilities and use that as a sign of strength, not weakness.
If you had a lesson that you can choose, just looking back on your journey, what would you choose as maybe a lesson message? And if that was something you would give to audience out there, especially those who are veterans themselves?
A lesson would be, it wasn't in the military, it was actually in my marriage/divorce. I make the short story. Basically, I was with my ex-wife at the time, 9 years, deployed a few times. My last deployment, basically came home, found out she was having an affair. She got pregnant. She said the kid was mine, but it wasn't. But throughout that, I learned the power of forgiveness. That's very important, is we have to forgive ourselves for things that happen to us. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to let them off the hook, which I've always thought throughout growing up. It's, if I forgive somebody, I'm letting them off the hook and saying it's okay. No, it's not saying it's okay. It's saying that we're forgiving ourselves, not them. Forgiveness is for us. And for the veterans or anybody that's going through some trauma, you have to forgive yourself. Maybe you're in a bad spot, but don't be so hard on yourself. Life's all about growing and learning from that. So we're always too hard on ourselves, especially nowadays where you want to be the best looking person or make the most money or have all these things you want to have, and you put so much pressure on yourself. It's okay to fall short every once in a while. That's part of growing. So forgive yourself.
Yeah, I want to touch on the comparison part, because that is something that I don't care what anybody says. We all do it. I do it as the host of this show. Right after the show's over, I'm going to be watching someone else's podcast to see if I can steal some ideas and secrets, because that's kind of how we're built as far as the human experience. We want to strive for greatness and be the best that we can be. But a lot of times that can cloud our vision of what truly matters. Sometimes what truly matters is when we say, you know what? What's more important than what I'm chasing right now? Because maybe I'm neglecting that now. And if we're honest, it's like your whole story. We can say, okay, I can reflect on maybe some things I can do better versus the ultimate goal of what I think I deserve or what I think I want. Because sometimes you don't always hit the biggest goal you want, but sometimes the closed doors are the most blessed doors, because sometimes it prevents you from going the wrong direction. What do you think about that?
Exactly. I think that's a very important thing, especially when it comes to just being present, right? If you got a family, you got a spouse, just be there, right? And I think that sometimes we overwork ourselves to chase that greatness, but sometimes the greatness is just right in front of your eyes. You just don't see it. That's all it is. You know, we always want to be better, and I get it. You know, I do the same thing. I watch motivational speakers, podcasts. How can I do this? And that's part of growing. But also at the same time, it's, you know, my daughter wants to go get ice cream. I'll put that away. We're going to go get some ice cream. And I'll tell you a good story. So my daughter she's 11 now. So I've deployed about 5 years out of her life. I'll say probably actually more like 4. But I came back from deployment and she knew I was gone, and it was me and her. We went to go get ice cream. She's probably about 5. That is a story. She don't remember the deployment part. She remembers the time that me and Dad went to get ice cream and we sat in the park and just was laughing. That's what she remembers, being present. So I think that's important, that sometimes, like I said, it's being present is most important. It's always good to strive for greatness, but also don't neglect what you have. You have more than you see. You just got to open your eyes.
Boom. I'm not touching that. That's awesome. That's what you just said was a full circle for the whole interview. So once again, for those who are listening on Refocused Radio and watching this online, talking to our guest Juan Espinoza, go to his website juanespinoza.me, and we're talking about topic turning pain into purpose. For those who want to connect with you, how can they stay in contact with all the latest updates you do, and where are your books available?
So my Instagram is juanespinoza.me. My Facebook's juanespinoza.me. My LinkedIn is Juan Espinoza 83 or 0830 for my LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, not so much, but Instagram, you definitely can reach me. My book's on Amazon. It's only on Amazon right now. I think if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. If you don't, I think it's like $9.99 right now. But if you go to my website, boom, it's linked right there. Or you could go to my Instagram and I'll see it and we'll connect.
Well, you've been listening to Refocus Radio and watching us online. Like always, want to say to our guest, Juan, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.